know, a little bit, I want to talk about a couple things. I want to kind of talk about sort of campus dining's philosophy towards food, especially to start making choices of where the food comes from that we buy and how we approach that. And I'll kind of share some personal things that it works really well because a lot of it is aligned with me personally, and so that helps make this job a lot better and a lot more fun, and it really works for us. And then I want to kind of talk a little bit about we've talked a lot about local, and I'll just kind of highlight, say, over the last 5 to 6 years, even beyond that, some of the things we've done, and some specific things just in the last couple years, and share the story, because I think stories are really cool, of some of the people we've met along the way, and where some of the products we serve comes from. Because that's something I know at Campus Dining we don't do a good enough job at, is telling our story. And so I want to kind of take that opportunity. Starting back with sort of philosophy towards food. You know, if I ask you a question, I say, okay, across all sectors of food service industry, whether it's restaurants, college universities, you know, fast casual, fine dining, business dining, whatever it is, all age groups, what is the #1 reason that people go back to a restaurant or a place to eat? The #1 reason. You've been there before and you go back.
Tastes good.
What did I hear? I heard taste. Did I hear taste?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Hands down. It has been for 50 years, it will be for the next 50 years, okay? Not to say that atmosphere and price and all these other things, you know, green efforts, all those things don't matter, that they don't matter, but taste is the #1 reason. And so as a chef, the way I approach it is what my #1 job is how can I put the best tasting food possible on the plate, okay? And that's my constant driver. And this is the only thing I've ever done as a career. I'm 36 years old now. My first job in a restaurant, I was a dishwasher, I was 15 years old. Okay, I went to culinary school. This is all I've ever done. I baked my first eclairs when I was 7 years old. Okay, so it's all I know. But I'll be honest with you, though, it's only been in probably the last 8 or 9 years where I really figured out what it is in my head, or what's made me become so passionate about food. And it's something that got touched on a little bit earlier, and it's about knowing where food comes from. I grew up in Eastern Virginia on the Chesapeake Bay. Okay, middle-income family, working parents, actually divorced parents, both remarried. Definitely not gourmets. Okay, my parents, I mean, they kept us fed. But you know where our food came from? It came from our backyard. Okay, we had a huge garden. We didn't have tillers. We didn't have tractors. It was turning the soil by hand. Right? We grew everything from. If it could grow, my parents tried it. We grew peanuts one year. We did popcorn. I think we tried artichokes, strawberry, lettuce. You know, you name it, that's where it came from. All summer long, we ate it fresh. We always had family meals, and there was always lots of vegetables on the plate. We were good that way. I used to drink the juice when we cooked the vegetables as a kid. Yeah. They call it pot liquor in the South, but that was me. And so I grew up that way, and then we canned and we froze things. We made homemade soup and we preserved it, and so all winter long we ate these kinds of things too, to the best of our ability. All right. And I never realized at the time, like I said, it's not until the last 7, 8 years when I started to realize that, you know, that's really what drives my passion for food. It's those memories, those experiences, and I just, kind of my life's calling is how can I let someone else have that same experience, okay? And fortunately I do what I do because I can help do the best thing we can to get food in the door that can give you that experience. Now, you may not sit around and pontificate and have this magical moment and you're just like, leave me alone, I'm going to die here because this tomato's the best thing I've had, like I do. But you may walk out going, I don't know why, but I'm really happy right now. Okay? So that's what we try and do. Right? And that's sort of my mission. You know, there's lots of things we can talk about. Benefits of local. I saw a great top 10 list that they had up there earlier. And there's all these other arguments we can make about it. And we consider those things. But in my job, it's about the quality of the product we put on the plate. Okay, so that's our approach. Okay, it's not easy to do. You know, we've talked a lot about local. Local doesn't always mean it's better, though. Okay, I can have, and there's more than just local produce too, because that's important to consider. You know, we have local dairies, we have local manufacturers. Like, we're not going to make all of our own potato chips. Okay, someone's going to make those for me. But they can still be made with potatoes, oil, and salt. All right, still be good product just because I don't make it. But if Bob's Potato Chips, let's say, which is 5 miles away, comes to me and says, hey, we want your potato chip business. We're local. We're 5 miles away. You can stand on the rooftop. You can put it in your statistics. It's all this great stuff. And I taste them, and you guys taste them, and you go like, these things suck. You know, I'm not going to buy it because you don't want to eat it. right? So there's a balance there you have to find. At the end of the day, that's what's really most important to us. It's got to be good food, okay? So what are we doing? Many things we have done for years and years and years, probably before the history of the department that Steve talked about. And why did we do them? Because it was the only choice. Our dairies, right? Where do we buy from? Prairie Farms. They're big, but where are those cows? They're in Missouri. They're in Illinois. You know, they're just down the street. They may be big, but if you want to talk local, it's always been that way. A lot of our bread that we buy, we don't have a central bakery on campus here at this time. Comes from a local bread manufacturer, okay? If we buy ravioli, all right? One of the oldest ravioli makers in the world, and they've been making it the same way for a long time, is Luisa Pasta. Where are they? I know. St. Louis, on the hill, right? Okay? We buy thousands of pounds of that kind of stuff, and we always have. In fact, without even blinking an eye, 5 years ago, and we just put this data together recently, we said, okay, what kind of dollars do we spend locally of our food? And believe it or not, without even trying, it was like 10.5%. Okay? Which isn't a huge amount, but it actually kind of surprised me that it was that much. It was in 2006, though, we really started to say, and I started here in 2004 and began my particular position in 2006. We said, you know, this is something, though, it's bigger than that, and I, you know, as a chef, we got to do something about this. And so we started trying to make some efforts. We began actually at that time a relationship with Bradford Farm, which I know Dakota mentioned Bradford Farm, and they're working out there, but the actual staff out there was starting to do some growing of different crops and produce, and met with us, and we started buying some of that. It wasn't a lot, you know, a few peppers, a few tomatoes. And then we said, you know what, we need to do a special event at the dining hall. Let's do a Taste of Missouri dinner, okay? And we want to do a dinner and get as much stuff for it that's just from the state of Missouri. I'm going to tell you what, there were a lot of people, there were a lot of man hours that went in to serving those 3,000 meals that night. I mean, if we spent that much time, and I'm talking about cooking, I'm talking about getting the food ordered, finding the food, getting it shipped here, from the UPS driver to thousands of phone calls and farmers that don't have phones, they don't have email, you know, they don't know how to return messages. It was like, you know, we got done with that thing and we were like, really? Really? Is this a road we really want to go down? And so it kind of floated along for a couple of years, 2007, 2000. And we did some token things. We do it's apple season, so we go buy all these apples from Rolla Orchards or something, and we show those out. And we wanted to do more, but we were just really struggling. Distribution is a really big problem, okay, when we start talking about these things. Along come 2009, had a great opportunity to meet a guy by the name of Rex Roberts. So it's early in 2009. At that time, Rex Roberts was the president of the board of the Columbia Farmers Market. He came up here to our office, and we sat down and met. We just started talking. You know, and he knew I had an interest in trying to get us more local foods. He's a farmer, he likes to grow food, he actually was a retired high school principal, you know, so he kind of knew some things, and he was running the farmer's market. He says, you know, we got growers that could grow so much more, and we just started talking, you know, and it was like this, he would listen to me, and I'd listen to him, and, you know, because we get in these big institutions, and we go, okay, well, we buy tomatoes, we need a 6x6 tomato, that's 24 pounds, there's 132 tomatoes in the box, and I want them here Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and they're here by 9 a.m. Okay, or we're going to get $10 for them, right? And if you can't do that, sorry, you're out the door, you know? And Rex said something, he says, you know, he says, maybe we need to stop and think what makes sense for our growers to grow. Because, like, you buy a lot of, like, baby lettuce, you know, mess salad mix or something. He says, we have small farmers, it doesn't make sense for them, it's not economical for them to grow that. But what about sweet potatoes? We can grow lots of sweet potatoes. What about this and that? And so we started this dialogue, and in that process, we brought a lot of other farmers to the table, a lot of folks from the farmers market. And as it turned out, we'll kind of jump forward a little bit. Rex and two other people ended up forming a business for us called Missouri Food for Missouri People. Okay? And they did this totally on a whim, or going out on a limb. And in fact, Jean Gaddy Wilson, who's she's a distinguished award winner here at the university, she's a former professor at the journalism school, funded it. Okay? She said, I want to make this happen to get it going. And they said, you know what, we're going to go out and find the farmers who will grow it. We'll call you or we'll email you twice a week, tell you what we got. You send us back a note, you say, here's what we want, and we'll bring it to you twice a week. You don't have to, and you just pay us. You don't have to pay 20 different farmers, you don't have to make 30 different phone calls, and let's see if we can make this work. And they worked on pricing, you know, and part of this process too, you know, we've talked about open dialogue and conversation all along the way. I mean, we gave them spreadsheets and said, look, here's how many pounds a week, all year long, of different products we buy. Here's what we pay throughout the year. We did in 2009, the beginning of the school year, we did about an 8 to 9 week trial to say, would this make sense for us? Does it make sense for the growers? For these people to run a business? In that time, we purchased over 21,000 pounds of produce in 8 weeks, and that was without even trying. Okay, we just sort of said, can we do it? What do the growers already have in the field? Huge success. All right, amounted about 6.8% of our purchases by dollar value. Okay, for that time period, pretty big increase. What did it mean?